think I've said in some of my earlier videos that if you're a physician and you haven't been sued for malpractice, you will be. Some of the numbers are shocking. I mentioned that the high-risk specialties, 99% of those physicians will be included in a medical malpractice lawsuit at some point during their career. 99%. Even in the low-risk specialties, it's 75%. But that doesn't give you a full picture. In the 30 years from 1990 to 2020, the total payout for medical malpractice lawsuits was $151.7 billion. $151.7 billion with a B. Now, California, Texas, and New York, they're states with large populations, so it makes sense. They win the prize for the most medical malpractice lawsuits. But those states average a little bit more than 4,000 new medical malpractice lawsuits every year. 4,000 in each state each year. That's 11 new medical malpractice lawsuits every single day of the year, weekends and holidays included. And when you think that those lawsuits include multiple defendants, I had a case in October that included 4 doctors, 1 hospital, and 1 medical practice, 6 defendants in that one. You begin to get a picture of the severity of the case and the situation. Now, in my earlier videos, I talked about the structure of a medical malpractice lawsuit and medical malpractice law, and we talked about the phases: discovery, depositions, and disposition. In this video, what I'd like to talk to you about is the mechanics of a deposition and the categories of questions that you'll be asked. First of all, in a deposition, that's the taking of sworn testimony outside of the courtroom, outside of the presence of a judge and jury. And what happens is the witness gets together with lawyers for all of the different parties in the case, the plaintiff and any and all defendants. A court reporter comes and the witness is put under oath and questioned. And here's a good setup for it. As you see here, Ms. Phillips would be sitting where the defendant doctor would be sitting. And as you can see, she's got medical records in front of her. You would be allowed to have your medical chart with you. You don't have to memorize the chart. Now, right over here, the court reporter would be sitting with her or his transcription machine, taking it all down. Ms. Snowden is sitting where the plaintiff's attorney would sit. So there's one person between you and the plaintiff's attorney, give you a little bit of distance. Now, over here on the other side, we would have any exhibits that might relate to the case. They might be projected on a laptop or a screen otherwise. And then right here next to you would be me or your defense attorney. And the deposition would proceed from there. Now, usually the court reporter will swear in the witness and you just remain seated and raise your right hand and say yes or I do, that you're going to tell the truth. Then the plaintiff's attorney will usually begin the questioning. Now, the plaintiff's attorney gets to ask any and all questions that he or she wants to ask. And when they finish, then each of the other lawyers, if there's multiple defendants, they'll be strung out along the table here, the lawyers for the defendants. Each of the other lawyers will get to ask you whatever questions they want to ask. But the plaintiff's attorney is going to ask 95 to 100% of the questions, at least when they're taking your deposition. Obviously, when I'm taking the plaintiff's deposition, I'll be asking 95 to 100% of the questions. Usually the parties will not be there. It's rare for the plaintiff or family members of the plaintiff to attend. It's rare, but sometimes it happens that other doctors will attend who are other defendants in the case. Now, there's no fixed requirement for the types of questions that are going to be asked or the order in which they are asked. But it's come to be pretty common that the following order is what you see. Usually plaintiff's attorneys will begin by asking what I call identifying questions. Name, rank, serial number sort of questions. Where you live, where you practice, those sorts of inquiries to kind of place you in the community. Often the second category of questions are testifying questions. Have you been sued before? Have you given a deposition before? Do you know what a deposition is? Usually these will include questions like, if you don't understand my question, will you please tell me? If you don't tell me, is it fair for me to rely upon what you had to say? Please answer out loud, because the court reporter may have difficulty taking down or a nod of the head. those kinds of questions that relate to testifying. In those, they'll usually ask if you've been sued before, if you've had problems with your state medical board, if your right to write triple script prescriptions has been lifted. Those kinds of questions will be included usually in these testifying questions. The third category are often education questions. We usually supply a CV of our defendant doctor to the other side. It saves a little time, and it provides the other side information that they're entitled to get anyway. They'll ask where you went to medical school, if you've done a residency where, if you've done a fellowship, if you're board certified. Those questions will be usually included in the education section of the deposition. And the next category is work experience. They'll often ask where you work now, where have you worked in the past, where do you have hospital privileges, etc. And again, I want to emphasize, they don't have to follow this order. They can jump right in and ask questions about anything they want to, but this is a common order that we see a lot. The final category is going to be the vast bulk of the questions, and that is questions about your care and treatment of the patient. They'll ask what you remember about your dealings with the patient. They may ask about entries in the records and things like that. Now, in my next video, I'll talk to you about how to answer those questions about your care and treatment of the patient and what you can do to prepare to make life a lot easier for yourself when you're in the deposition. Also, what you can do to help me or your defense attorney help you. I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, please return the favor and click like, follow, and subscribe, and good luck in your medical malpractice case.